So Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Google, or Alphabet, I should say, is currently supporting 9 business units with over 1 billion users each. Is that about right?
That is correct. Yeah, nine products with over 1 billion monthly active users.
Supporting them gives Google great insights, and then what they've basically done, as I look at from an outsider, is they've got so much internal demand, they're able then to learn from those 9 business units and then offer a great array of services to external customers. Let's hear more about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. It's great to be here. If these were ideal circumstances, we would probably be doing this in person, probably in a seminar room somewhere. I would get to meet everybody. We'd probably hang out, have a coffee and a muffin together or something. But this is the next best thing. So it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I've been with Google for about 3.5 years. I work out in the New York City office focused on media and entertainment, covering customers nationally across the United States. And today I'll be talking about Google Cloud and more specifically Google Cloud's approach to media. So let's kick this off. So if you think about Google or Alphabet as a whole, but more specifically Google, many things come to mind, and many of them are actually directly or indirectly related to media. The most obvious one is, of course, YouTube, but there's many other things that are sort of lurking around in the background, right? You have Google Search, which is, again, delivering images and videos and text and documents at very sort of efficient rates with no pre-warning as to what it might be searching for. You have maps that are, again, delivering satellite images and tiles very, very fast to mobile devices, web devices all over the world at, again, almost near instantaneous speeds. We have Google Analytics, which is, in fact, the standard bearer for many websites to just collect analytical information. You have Stadia, which is providing near real-time or real-time gaming experiences, console-quality games with nothing but a Chromecast. So when you think of Google, you definitely think of a certain type of muscle that lends itself well to media use cases. And customers have repeatedly asked us, what are you doing and how can we get some of that goodness? And while the product areas specifically build out their products to be optimized for their use cases, what Google Cloud is doing is really taking the best ideas from all these different areas and making them packaged in a manner that allows our customers to leverage them for their own use. So all that innovation, all that creativity, many times, customers ask us, how is Google Cloud different from what is already out there? And the answer is what Ron alluded to earlier. It is simply the scale. That's one aspect, right? When you have very few companies are running at the scale that Google is, and when you have to solve problems at those scales, you think of them in fundamentally different ways. I'll give you one example. For instance, if you look at Google Maps and you look at how all the faces are blurred and how all the license plates are blurred, it's okay to demonstrate an ML or AI product that can blur something 1Z, 2Z in a demo video. But if you think about all the imagery, all the ingestion that is taking place, all the detection that has to be done with a high degree of accuracy, and all the blurring that has to be done in a timely manner, the scale breaks everything, right? And what Google has really sort of mastered the art of is executing these very difficult concepts at scale. So what follows is a very light overview of Google Cloud, because there's a lot in there and I don't want to sort of bore you all with lots of details about that, but there's a fair amount of emphasis on use cases. So how have customers actually used this stuff? And maybe a couple of demos thrown in if we have time. So there are 3 areas that I'll emphasize, broken out into like 4 different categories. So how Google helps customers in media today. One of them is to streamline content production. So if you look at the first bullet here, which is faster, more distributed content production, which has become a reality thanks to COVID, we have the virtual studio, the hybrid and cloud rendering approaches, where you can literally burst into hundreds of thousands or millions of cores into cloud and render your product and then shut all of that down. In fact, we worked with Sony to launch OpenQ, which is the open source rendering engine that you can run, rendering pipelining engine that you can run in our cloud. And again, customers have found success with that. Later on, there's a case study about a company called Luma that actually worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and rendered that on Google Cloud using some of these technologies. We don't cover that here, but I'll point you to the use case. Then there's workers' productivity. You've probably all used Google Docs in one way or another through your personal accounts. But again, there are enterprise versions of those, and they have kept enterprises running with highly productive outcomes throughout COVID. There is actually a very interesting Yahoo case study, which is linked to here, and I'll share all these links with Ron to be distributed later, about how Yahoo Finance's team kept the broadcast on the air once COVID hit and production studios had to be shut down. So again, these are real life use cases. These are things that people have done. And then there's efficient content management. So you have a wealth of content. How do you use AI and ML to intelligently tag and store and search that content and surface it to make better use of it. So there's an arrow next to that. So that's something we'll discuss. If you look at another area, so one was content production. Now we're talking about content delivery and monetization. So the first bullet talks about distribution costs. So how do you actually have a clean pipeline to ingest, process, and play this out? Google has a large ecosystem of partners because we know that customers prefer the tools of their choice that they have learned over time and have mastered, spent hours and hours learning and building expertise in, and maybe in some cases even contributed to the making of those products. So what we have done is we've brought those partners on board. Those partners can work with you and work with us to create for you the exact pipelines and the exact systems that are desirable for your use case. But they run on Google's infrastructure, so you're getting the best innovation of all that acceleration and all that scale. Then, how do you launch and scale new direct-to-consumer services? So that's through our CDN, through our processing, and through our storage capabilities. And there's operational efficiency. So how do you really modernize a lot of your workflows and automate them? So there's a whole ops suite, but we won't be talking about that. So today we'll talk about some of the partners and some of the network. And then, so the third aspect is how do you really imagine or reimagine the audience experience, because it's all streaming now. So you really have to be very, very thoughtful about how your customers are experiencing your media, because streaming has become a very crowded field. The switching costs are very low. If customers do not like the quality of your delivery, the quality of your service, the quality of your interface, they will switch to someplace else that has the content that they're looking for. So how do we actually give you better audience insights? So that's the data aspect that also I'll touch upon today. So again, topics for today, we'll talk about the Google network, we'll talk about data for media, we'll talk about AI, ML, and we'll talk about partners. And interspersed with all this will be some use cases. There are two customer personas that I want to call out early on. One is, of course, companies that have media as their primary function. Those that are major streamers, major video companies, major direct-to-consumer companies, OTT streaming companies. For them, there's a lot in here, but most of the focus is on creating global broadcast workflows, handling large events, and building really resilient global systems. And then there's another cohort of customers that have media as a secondary function. So what Ron had mentioned earlier, where you have like Quick Trips, or they're primarily a non-media company, but they have media as part of their customer experience, as part of their website, as part of their in-store experience. So somewhere there is a media touch point, right? You could be a news website, so it's not really all media and streaming, but you have a lot of dependency on imaging and images and video, likewise with retail, likewise with e-commerce and so forth. So for those customers as well, we have a large suite of self-serve, API-driven, very easy-to-use tools that allow them to get started and allow them to get value out of their investments in cloud very, very quickly. So neither of these two cohorts have to be intimidated by anything in this presentation. It's fairly accessible, but there's something in it for everybody. So let's start talking about the network. So Google is unique in that it owns and operates its own private fiber global backbone. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 transatlantic cables. We have a bunch of cables going from North America to South America. We have cables from Europe to Africa, cables that are going trans-Pacific. Again, owned and operated. They are direct fiber lines. So, which means when you are on the Google network or within Google Cloud, all traffic within Google is flowing over these wires. So it never leaves this pipeline. So you get the fastest, most direct, most hop-free network between two regions that you can build on this planet. This is pretty incredible. Now, if you think about what Google's needs were, they were not regional. Google's needs were global from day one. So our emphasis was, how can we deliver content? We never knew where content would originate, and we never knew where content would need to be delivered. So we built our system to be resilient to unexpected demands. So we basically expect the unexpected at all times. So if you look at how, I mean, you'll be familiar with VPCs. This is going a little bit deeper, but I'll cover this off very quickly. But when you create an instance in Google, you really get a VPC that is a global VPC, not a regional one. So you can then have regional subnets that can connect to different subnets in different regions very, very easily. Which then means that you, like here, for instance, I've created three VMs. I created one in US East, which is, I think, South Carolina. I created one in Singapore, and I created in US West, which is Oregon. And all of them are in the same VPC, and they have internal IP addresses that are non-overlapping subnets, and I can easily communicate between them, which, as I'll show you. So here, you can see when I do a trace route from US East to US West, it is a single hop, right? And when I do a ping or trace route from US East to Singapore, it is again a single hop. So when you're riding that fiber, you're really just very, very quickly getting to where you want to go and coming back. There is a lot of work that we've done on performance, but let me actually show you what this network looks like in a little bit in real life. So here is an exploration of Google's network, which is where how Google's traffic enters. So when you do a search, or when you're hosting a website on Google, any kind of OTT streaming service, when you want to access it, traffic for that will ingress into Google at the closest point to the requester. That request will traverse Google's fiber. It'll hit the origin wherever that asset is, and then write that fiber back out. And so it'll egress closest to the customer again. So you're spending the longest possible time on Google's network, which is giving you the fastest possible transit. So this is the standard tier. So if you were to just go over the public internet, let's say we start from Oregon, or we were to receive traffic somewhere, let's say in the middle here, traffic would originate in Oregon and bounce around a whole bunch and take sort of an indeterminate path. And here you're getting about a 3.1 kbps or 3.1 mbps throughput, right? But if you were to be using Google's network, which is again doing this direct transit, you would see that your throughput is almost double. It's 5.8 mbps. Your latency is a lot shorter, and you're getting a direct fiber path to the closest egress point to that customer, and then it's traversing whatever local last mile there is. So this, when you're delivering media, when you're delivering a live show, when you're delivering sports, all the underpinning of where your stuff is running actually starts to matter a lot. Let's switch back to the presentation. Oh, also, we publish a dashboard. So if you ever want to see how there's actually a really great performance blog post, which lists a lot of different connectivity tests and other things. There's a perfect benchmarker that we have significantly invested in that is available for you to use. And then there's a live dashboard that allows you to see in real time what our pings are across different zones. So this is information we make public. We want you to have complete visibility into where you will be running your systems. So you can choose, let's say US East to let's say US West. You can see that is a 34 millisecond round trip ping time. It's pretty fast. Additionally, we give you sort of lots of network intelligence tools. So when you run on Google, you actually get this thing called the Network Intelligence Center. This actually automatically inspects your instances and figures out what the network topology of your VPC is and how data is flowing and what the CPU utilization, memory utilization, and throughput utilization. You're also able to see issues with your network in terms of traffic drops and latencies, or packet drops and latency. So it's really very insightful in terms of how you're able to tune and maximize your investment in the infrastructure. Now that we have a global VPC, we actually have a concept called global load balancing. So again, this may seem a little bit esoteric, but if you think about a media company and you have to distribute media and customers don't really care how you do it, they just want their media when they want to watch it. What we have done is our load balancer actually sits not in our data center, but it actually sits at the edge. So when you deploy a website, the certificate for it and the IP address for that is broadcast out of all those POPs. So when you set up your DNS, you literally have to make one DNS entry that says, this is where you find my endpoint, my video, or my OTT service, and customers just have to go there. And what the load balancer does is it automatically geo-routes to the nearest healthy instance. So you don't have to set up any geo-routing rules. You don't have to set up any DNS configurations. You simply say, here's my IP, here's a domain, and these are the backends that service this, and they could be geo-distributed, and the load balancer will take care of everything in terms of how to efficiently route that traffic. So now when you think about your APIs that have to do all the customer services in terms of catalogs and your movie preferences and your APIs for logging in and authentication and payments, etc. All of them can be served out very, very fast through a global infrastructure. And of course, then the next thing is the cloud CDN, because now that we have the load balancer sitting at the edge, it's basically stapled to our CDN. So anything that you put on the load balancer, you can activate the CDN on with a single checkbox. And all of a sudden, 98% of global ISPs are a single hop away for your content. You can scale from 0 to millions of QPS without any pre-warming. So many, like when you talk to CDN vendors, they'll be saying, oh, look, you can pre-warm something. But for Google, that's actually an anti-pattern. We don't want to pre-warm because we don't know what will be popular. So if you guess the wrong thing, you have basically wasted a lot of money pre-warming something, and then it's not going to get used. So with us, our goal is to deliver whatever comes as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible, without you having to think about it. And again, because you have this kind of infrastructure working for you, it is designed to out-absorb even some of the largest known DDoS attacks. You can also attach Cloud Armor, which is our web application firewall, to this. And our Cloud CDN and load balancer now offer hybrid and multi-cloud support, which means you can get the goodness of this entire Google network, even if you're on-prem or in a different cloud. So it's a really, really nice system. There's some case studies. Let's actually punch out of this. And let me actually show you the website we have for Major League Baseball. So there is a separate website just for our work that we've done with MLB, because it is a fairly transformational undertaking that we've done with them. And in there we talk about their migration to GCP. We talk about migration of StatCast and how a lot of improvements were made. There's some really nice videos. How we're using Anthos at the edge in a lot of their stadiums, etc. So it's very, very nice. And then there's some other use cases there as well. So again, these are all links that are public. This is all available information. I'll be happy to share it. Here's a cool little visualization that we did as a demo for what we're doing with StatCast, which again allows you to see how different players interact. And again, this is semi-media related because it is more analytics, but it is still how you make your media richer. How do you enable next-gen media experiences? So everybody talks about the second screen. Well, what is a second screen? It's experiences like this that you enable along with your primary viewership that allow customers to actually experience your product in a completely different way. So here are all the different players. I can kind of mouse over any single one, and I can click on that, and I can, again, this is all being computed very, very fast. It's using years and years of data to crunch through any specific player stats. And here you have like different years, etc., that you can play with. Again, it's a demo. It's using a very small slice of data, but it's just one example of how media experiences can be significantly enriched by using the capabilities that Google is bringing to the table. I know I had until the top of the hour, so I will try to stick to that. If you look at another example, which is Fubo TV, so again, they were able to build a cloud-native streaming platform with responsive scalability on GCP. So they literally went from zero to, zero to full in a very short amount of time. Were able to address scaling issues as they arose, simply because they had the benefit of this type of bandwidth, this type of network, this type of infrastructure that is just designed to scale on demand. So it's a very compelling underpinning for any kind of stack that you want to build. Let's talk about media, data for media. So media is anticipated to be almost 25% of all data on the internet, but that's videos and images. But there's a fair amount of data exhaust that comes out of how that media is actually consumed. So if you think about all the viewership, all the ads, all the metadata around the actual video and the images, you think about optimization of how you want to split and stitch different highlights. It's a lot of data that you want to analyze and that you want to make ready for your customers. So we have a wide suite. I don't want to get into features of each one, but if you look at, there are two that I want to bring attention to. One is BigQuery, which is a serverless petabyte scale data warehouse. So literally, you start putting things into it, it just stores it, and then when you want to query it, you're charged for the query. So you charge a very little amount for storage, and you charge a certain amount for query, and then it just scales. You don't have to manage any machines. You don't have to manage any IOPS, any memory, any throughput. You may have a few petabytes of data to query. You simply say, here's the query. We'll instantaneously in the background spin up, thousands of cores, terabytes of RAM. We'll chew through all the data. We'll give you the results in minutes, and then all that will be blown away. So it's really truly serverless. There's zero management. If you look at Bigtable, that is again petabyte scale time series. So it's got an H-based interface. So a good use case for that is artist royalty. So if you want to have like a time series data flow of which video or which audio file was listened to, so you can calculate how to pay the artists what they're owed for viewership, and also any other type of time series analytics that you want to do. Bigtable is a really great candidate. But the two major ones I want to focus on are BigQuery and Spanner. So Spanner is a truly unique offering. There's not anything like this, I don't think, out there. So all of Google's data centers have atomic clocks, and we use these atomic clocks to enforce something called external consistency, which means that when you save something in Spanner, you could have a Spanner instance that is connected in the US, in Europe, and in Asia, and they will all transact at the same time. So if you're looking for, let's say, massively multiplayer games that are global, or you're looking for massive events that have global state implications, Spanner is just brilliant for that, because when you persist something in it, the transactional state is represented simultaneously all over the world, and you don't have to do anything to make that happen. It just works. So it's really incredible. It's an amazing piece of technology, and again, we're happy to work on what the appropriate use cases for that are for you. And then data flow is a way you have managed pipelines. So it allows you to then ingest data at scale and insert that either into Bigtable or into BigQuery or into a backend of your choice like Spanner. So we'll do a small little demo of audience experiences. Here you have, so media streaming is global. People are watching video all over the world. There's lots of different device types, locations, bandwidth, etc. And then analytics are essential to understanding that. So if you look at what we do in this demo, we kind of show the combination of BigQuery with this visualization tool called Looker. which is an incredibly powerful combination. What we do is you'll see the Shaka player, which is streaming some content, and it's emitting some events, and it's getting put through an ingestion pipeline, and ultimately it's getting visualized in Looker. So let's actually take a look at that. So here, for instance, is my simulated OTT service, and let me actually turn on the debug window, and let's actually watch a video. So when I click on watching a video, it actually starts to emit all these events. And if, let's say, I click on this ad, it records that the ad was clicked and the ad was paused, so I can resume playing that ad. And then all these events are generated and fed into a Looker dashboard that I can then see. So here's a Looker dashboard that's showing how many video starts I had, how that funnel actually works in terms of first quartiles, and like how many people actually watched the video, where all did they watch it, what's the ad funnel like, how many clicks, how many completions, etc. And then the cool thing about BigQuery is it's got ML baked in, so you can literally create ML models for clustering, correlation, and other types of segmentation directly within your SQL, and try to make some estimates about your viewership in near real time. So this is very lightweight demo. There's a lot inside this. There are lots of little click points, but I won't go into those because just to keep the pace, just to show the richness of what's available here. So let's switch back to presenting. I'm sorry if I run a little bit over. So again, top media companies are using the combination of BigQuery and Looker, names you know and love. And again, we're happy to talk about what each of them are doing and how you want to use these tools, and how they can be beneficial to you. So one instance here is Sky, that is using this as a backend for a lot of their set-top boxes. So we're ingesting a massive number of events and are able to generate really great insights and diagnostics for them. Let's get into AI and ML because I think that's also top of mind for many folks. So Google is an AI company. We wouldn't be able to survive if we were not adept at doing some of these things at scale. So if you think about, let's say in YouTube, how many copyright violations we have to look out for, or how many potentially harmful videos we have to detect and automatically process, because you're literally getting a few hundred hours of video uploaded every minute. There's no human scale at which you can process this. You have to use ML and AI, and again, that's the difference, right? So if you think about a lot of what ML and AI is out there, it is okay to use in your private setting, on your computer, on a desktop, on some controlled encapsulation of a use case. But when you have to do billions and billions of these hits and these scans and these analyses, scale is a very hard problem to solve. And I think we've done a better job at solving it than many others. So I think it's something that we can pass on to you as a benefit when you run your systems on Google. If you look at common use cases, we support them all. Celebrity recognition, brand recognition, classification, shot change detection, poses, captions, content moderation, and extraction of text and credits. And the coolest thing is that you can mix and match these. So you can also make your own custom models. So you can classify something specific to your domain. So if it's a highly specialized professional domain, let's say you want to classify different types of trees. You can literally say this tree type is of this, or this flower is of this species. If you want to classify different types of objects, so a ball is not just a ball; it's either a cricket ball or basketball or a baseball. You have different types of actions, and then there's this is just a subset of the ML products that are applicable to media. There's a whole other there's a giant suite in terms of genomics and document and OCR and other things that, again, you can mix and match with this. So the cool thing is all of these you can chain in any order and get value out of them. So there's the top row is pre-trained models, which through Google's use or through Google's sort of existence on the web, where we are able to learn from what the world is doing and make these models better, and you just get the advantage of that. And you get to use that for your own purposes to say, well, as Cloud Vision gets better and better, every time I use it, I'll get improved results over time. None of these are static. And then in addition to that, like I said, if you have something very specific, very custom to your domain, you can then modify or layer on top of them a set of your own configurations through AutoML, in video, in vision, in natural language, and translations. So video intelligence with AutoML, you can create your own models in certain areas, but video intelligence as such has a fair amount of capability. I won't enumerate them because that's fairly tedious. One example is how do you again, those immersive experiences. One example is Fox Sports in Australia, which was able to predict when a player would be out within about 5 minutes before it would happen. So I mean, imagine if you're seeing a game and 5 minutes before a significant event, you get a warning that maybe this could be happening. There's a probability. That really causes a quantum leap in user engagement for your product. Also, how 20th Century Fox was able to use ML to predict the movie audience. So how do you actually make a better trailer? So how do you correlate different aspects of what people have watched, and what were the qualifying markers in that video experience that would lead them to watch something else? So is it just an action movie? Is it the actor? Is it the scenery? Is it the dialogue style? Is it the mix of characters in it? Like what specific parameters are causing someone to like one thing and then subsequently watch something else? So there's a very interesting blog post, and this is something that I'll be happy to share. So let's talk about our partner ecosystem. So everything so Google believes in an open platform. We believe that everything you run should work everywhere, but our goal is to earn your business by ensuring that it works best on Google, and that's why we've worked with some of the leading industry companies that are really the standard for a lot of the media tools to say, if customers have a certain workflow that they're used to, how do we meet them where they are? How do we take what they have going on-prem and give them the smoothest path to run on cloud? So across distribution, content intelligence and orchestration, ingestion and transport, content production, and implementation, there's a very wide range of partners and tools and capabilities. And then there's also our professional services organization that is happy to work with you to coordinate all of this, to give you day-to-day support, and also tie into the support of these partners. So it's actually a fairly unique way in which we engage with partners, and it's something that customers have found to be very, very helpful. So again, if you look at the open media ecosystem, through the pipeline of hold on, let me just turn on my pointer. Through the pipeline of a media workflow for live, let's say, you have the ingestion, you have transcode, you have playout and distribution. Again, pick your tools of choice, because those are the ones you're already using. We will run them on Google, and you will have the benefit of all the distribution, all the network scale capability, security, and innovation that we've been working on. So your journey with Google Cloud for media, there's a lot of media expertise at Google. We are fundamentally a media company. We are happy to give you engineering to engineering support. We have deep technical account management expertise that we have folks who are from the media industry who will be working with you to help guide you through the process of adopting Google Cloud. There's specific consulting engagements available where we will work with you to build out your ML models, your data pipelines, your very specific outcome-driven systems, so that you're not just sort of flailing, trying to figure all these things out. There's a very clear path to get you to success. And then there's training and learning and just adoption and optimization that comes with that. So there's a fair amount of resources. Again, I'll share them out at the end of this through Ron. And let's open it up for Q&A.